Hello, this is George Balog, owner of Blue Skies Travel. I'm excited to invite you to join us for a virtual presentation about one of my favorite experiences, the Rocky Mountaineer rail trip through the Canadian Rockies. As you can see, this map shows you the three routes for the Rocky Mountaineer, which is typically flanked on each side by a stay in the beautiful and vibrant city of Vancouver, and on the other end of your journey, a stay in your choice of several historic lodges and exciting destinations of Jasper, Lake Louise, and Banff. The world-renowned luxury train travels by daylight through the wild beauty of Canada's West and was the best way for Janice and I to experience the majestic Canadian Rockies. We saw parts of the Rockies that were not accessible by car, and the overnight stay in the train portion of the trip was in a hotel, ensuring that we didn't miss any of the scenery. The service and the culinary experience on board was like no other. Let me share with you the highlights of mine and my wife Janice's Rocky Mountaineer experience, followed by a presentation given by our Rocky Mountaineer representative, Tim Palmer. This picture is of my wife and I during a run around Lake Louise. The color of the water was fantastic. I vividly recall hearing Janice gasp when she opened the curtains and saw the view of the lake from our room. After that, we stayed at the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, which was set aside this river, and we walked across the footbridge as we watched 3 deer wade into the river, then swim under the bridge, and then walk out of the river about 100 yards downstream. It was so surreal, and it showed how close you can get to nature. I will leave the original audio, as it is calming to hear the water flow. Hopefully these clips and images show you why I'm excited to share the Canadian Rockies experience with you. Although I didn't mention the train itself, let me welcome Tim Palmer, who will introduce you to the Rocky Mountaineer experience.
So folks, again, my name is Tim Palmer, represent Rocky Mountaineer. We are in our 30th year of business, and this is our founder and owner, Peter Armstrong. Peter's whole vision was connecting Vancouver out to the Canadian Rockies on a luxury train. And he wants people to be able to experience the extraordinary. So there are a few things that you have to think about when you are booking Rocky Mountaineer. And really what we operate is a train that connects exactly the region I just said, and I'll show you the map in a second, Vancouver out to the Canadian Rockies. That train is 2 or 3 day rail experience, which you have to choose your service level on, you choose the season that you go in, and then step 4 is expanding off of that rail experience and choosing what do I want to do in Vancouver, in Lake Louise, in Banff, in Jasper when I am off of the train. So you have the rail routes, which hopefully that map is coming up on your screen. And you are looking at 3 distinct rail routes. So similar to rivers bringing you into the heart of the country, the rail really can bring you into the heart of Canada. And we are looking at British Columbia and Alberta. So the first thing you think about when looking at Rocky Mountaineer is which route would I take? You have 2 choices that connect Vancouver and Jasper. You can see the blue line and the dark green line. The blue line, titled Journey Through the Clouds, is a 2-day rail trip with an overnight in KAMLOOPS. The dark green line is a 3-day rail route that connects through Whistler and Quesnel. And then we have one other route which connects Lake Louise and Banff to Vancouver through KAMLOOPS as well. That is a 2-day. So on this map, the white dots or the white little diamonds there, those are the locations that you overnight in a hotel while traveling on the day, on the train during the day. The black dots are locations that we either begin or end our train experience and then perhaps start a motor coach or self-drive experience as well. So I'll try to explain that a little bit more. But essentially, you have to decide, do I want to go up to Jasper, or is Lake Louise and Banff enough for me? And some people may say Jasper is a definite necessity, especially those outdoor wildlife, enthusiasts. So service levels. When I think of a service level, we all have a very good understanding of what a 4-star versus 5-star hotel may feature. AMA Waterways, I'm going to put them probably in a 5-star category. Phenomenal inclusions, high-end dining experience, lots of good inclusions as far as what is on the ship in meals and drinks. Well, you're getting a similar experience here when you're on the train, whether you're in Goldleaf or Silverleaf. And I'll say that Goldleaf is definitely our 5-star experience, and Silverleaf may be our 4-star, but that's tough to say even. The main difference between Silverleaf and Goldleaf is that the Silverleaf coach is a single level coach. So you have a concept that is really focused on an open, airy experience while using very large windows to look out and see the beauty of the mountains and the valleys that we are passing by. So again, Silverleaf, me calling it a 4-star experience may only be because you dine at the comfort of your seat and all of your experience happens there. So because there's not a variety when you're on this train, I may deem it a 4-star experience. But when you're on the Silverleaf train and you see the great space that we have, the beauty of looking out these windows and having a dining experience that is both your breakfast and lunch on the train are included, along with an endless supply of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. So we really have a wonderful experience between the dining, your hosts that are on board, as well as the meals that are, the drinks that are being offered. So what I try to say is what is similar between the two versus going in so depth about what is different, because it's pretty obvious when you're looking at the Goldleaf level, there's an upstairs, there's a downstairs, there's an outside. But what is similar? You have hosts on board that are doing narration throughout the entire duration of the trip. They're letting you know the exact location by following along with a mile marker map. They're giving you facts both historically and geographically of the region. They're also, as I mentioned, handing out alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverages. Typically, their stories get a little bit better as the day goes on. So in Goldleaf, again, this is now an 18.5-foot tall train car where the upstairs would be the assigned seat that you have for the 2 or 3 days that you are on the train. To get downstairs in Goldleaf, we have a single person elevator, or you can use the spiral staircase. So mobility should not be an issue when utilizing Goldleaf. When you get downstairs into the dining room, you now have a menu with 8 different choices. The food is cooked to order. So if you like your eggs running in the morning, we can adhere to that. If you would like something, as far as a dressing or something else on the side, we can obviously adhere to that. And then with the space that you have, the upstairs area, the downstairs dining, and then an outdoor viewing platform, people really do enjoy the outdoor viewing platform, especially because the seasons that we travel. We operate April through October. So pretty much throughout the entire time that we are using, the routes that we have, the weather is good enough to be outdoors and really get that fresh air. So April 15th is typically our start date. We travel through until October 12th. And April 15th in the Canadian Rockies is still a winter-esque season. Lake Louise, and I'll show a picture of that in a little bit, Lake Louise is really the indicator of when is spring done and when does summer start. And I say that because they have ice in the lake all the way until June 1st typically. So if you'd like to walk on Lake Louise, by all means, go April, May. If you'd like to canoe on Lake Louise, we want to look at the summer months of June, July, and August. And then as we get into September, you really start to get that crisp mountain air. Some snow may start to fall on the tops of these 10 and 12, 14,000 foot peaks, but the rivers and lakes are still not frozen. So a different foliage than we have here up in, well, you know, I say here, I'm talking to you from Massachusetts today. There may be some people joining us from California, Arizona, New York, etc. But, you know, we pride ourselves on the fall colors up in New England, and it really is spectacular. You still get some of those sprinkled in. I think right now the top season for people to travel with us is probably early August through late September. So what's a day like on the train? That's what a lot of people ask. You know, each day we're traveling about 300 miles and we're going at 30 miles an hour. So this should be approximately a 10-hour day on the train, overnight in a hotel, and then get back on the train the next day. So you see in this picture, the sun is coming up. Early mornings are typically the story with us, as we are having breakfast on the train. So the wheels on the train may start rolling at 7:30 or 8 in the morning. Immediate with a breakfast, lots of opportunities for sightseeing, the narration from your host. And, you know, we're going already at a snail's pace of 25 or 30 miles an hour. But if we get to a beautiful scenic vista, we're going to slow down even more. So we may slow down to a crawl or 5 miles an hour so you can get a picture throughout the duration of the trip. A lot of people like to get the train as it goes around a bend. We are traveling from Vancouver, which is a rainforest region, through the center of British Columbia, which now goes into a semi-arid desert region, out to the high alpine of the Rockies. So not only will the landscape change, but the wildlife will change pretty dramatically as we near the town of KAMLOOPS. And KAMLOOPS is our in-between point from Vancouver out to Jasper or Lake Louise and Banff region. So we typically pull into KAMLOOPS around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. In the summer months, the daylight stays well until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. You do have dinner on your own. The hotel is included in the package. Transfers are all included. But I'll tell you, on the train, you probably consumed 3,000 to 4,000 calories of food and booze. So maybe just an appetizer, a walk down to the river, and a good nap, and then wake up and start that all over again with some spectacular scenery. So this is Pyramid Falls. That should be coming up on your screen right now. Pyramid Falls changes with the season. In the spring, it is an engorged waterfall, really overflowing. This is it now into the fall months. You can start to see the yellow foliage coming through on the tree over there. So we know we are into the fall time span. There's no other way to get to this beautiful waterfall than by train or a pretty darn good hike. So I would prefer the train experience myself. So we do get to some of those remote locations that would otherwise be not seen by your travel. Now, regardless if you're in your Silverleaf seat enjoying your meal or you're in the Gold Leaf dining car, you have plenty of windows and you will not miss a beat of some of the wildlife that is right beside us outdoors in the windows. Now, as far as when it comes to wildlife, each of our train cars, again, has your host on board. Your host is connected to the other train cars solely by a walkie-talkie. We don't have hosts that are going from one train car to the other. But if the conductor hears, or sees rather, that there is a black bear or a moose close to the track, you'll start to hear that through the walkie-talkies of our host on board. And you'll hear, you know, black bear on the left, and everyone gets up and looks over to the left side of the train. So again, folks, we have 2 and 3 day train tours. We use those 2 and 3 day train tours as the base to build a more robust itinerary. And this is where you have to start thinking about your package. your ability to spend 2 nights in Vancouver, your ability to include 2 days on Rocky Mountaineer, and then perhaps when you get off in Jasper, spend 2 nights in Jasper, 2 nights Lake Louise, 2 nights Banff, a night in Calgary. That'd be a phenomenal 11-day trip. We have all of the partnerships that we put that package together for you, and you get to personalize it. And that's where it's great having someone like George and the staff at Blue Skies Travel to help you. George has been to the destination. He understands. People aren't just going to come up to British Columbia and Alberta for only 2 or 3 days on the train. And there's so much more to do. So we really have, chosen our partners, chosen the inclusions, such as the Ice Explorer that you see here, helicopter rides, gondola rides. Now you do have a choice. How do you want to get around? Would you like to do it by traditional motor coaching? Or would you like to do this at your own pace with a private car, or a way that you would be able to rent a car and drive yourself? So you could have a private car with a driver, or you could do a rental car, or you could be on a motor coach. Either way, there is so much to do and see. And George, I am going to tap on your shoulder because I was very impressed that you were training for a marathon when you were last in Vancouver. And folks, on the far right of your screen, at the very, very top, you see some mountains. George was at the top of the mountain. He went to Grouse Mountain, which has a habitat for some grizzly bears, which were rescued from the wild, so it's nice that they have that habitat. He made his way down to the Capilano Suspension Bridge, which is about 12 miles out from downtown Vancouver. And George, what did you decide to do from Capilano Suspension Bridge?
Well, then we ran back down and then across that bridge that you see there through Stanley Park, and our hotel was right behind those cruise ships there. But just to clarify, my wife who's on the call is training for a marathon. I've only done a half marathon, so I will pay for the idea that you said I was training for a marathon because it was only a half. So I'm not going to get in trouble because you spoke.
That is 13.6 miles. You ran 12 miles. And what a beautiful run that would be. And you can understand, folks, why Vancouver is so sought after. You have the stunning city, the beautiful open green space of Stanley Park, and you are right next to the mountains. So coming up on your screen should be the Capilano Suspension Bridge. This is where George decided to put his backpack on the bus and take a leisurely jog back. You see the folks at the bottom of your screen, they are on the seawall doing a bike ride. This is the wall that goes all the way around Vancouver, including Stanley Park. So lots of great activities throughout Vancouver, more than enough time to explore independently, but you got to pace yourself. If you only go there for one night, you're going to miss it. So 2 or 3 nights is definitely an essential for Vancouver. And then this comes into Jasper. What do I want included? What will my pace be? Do I want hiking? Do I want thrill seeking, such as this, going out on one of the skywalks? What is my pace? Do you want to do river rafting? Do you want to do a leisurely boat ride around Malayan Lake and Spirit Island? There's lots of decisions that you get to make when personalizing your trip to the Canadian Rockies. One that I hope no one goes without doing, though, is the Ice Explorer. You take a snow coach, which the price of admission just to ride on the snow coach is well worth it. The tires are 5 feet tall. They're $4,000 each. Really a unique experience to get up to this glacier and now stand on 2,000 feet of ice. So hopefully you're that type of person and you want to get up close with the glaciers, with the mountains, and also up close with the wildlife. The abundance of wildlife that happens in the Canadian Rockies. I've had the opportunity to travel pretty extensively. My expectations of Alaska was that there would be wildlife in every nook and cranny, and it was good. There was a lot of wildlife, but Alberta and the national parks that are offered in the Canadian Rockies are far superior. You have different seasonalities. You'll have the moms and the babies coming out in the spring. You have the male moose, the male elk rutting in the fall as they come down and choose their next mate for the year. So again, here's another beautiful, stunning image. You have to enjoy the outdoor nature. You have to enjoy wildlife, or at least respect it to be able to really understand the beauty that you're getting when you travel through the Canadian Rockies. Lake Louise is an absolute stunner. Victoria Glacier is in the far background of Lake Louise. And in the foreground of Lake Louise, hopefully you're seeing that on your screen now, that is the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise. And George had a great story about his experience. And Janice, this may be your claim to fame now. When she opened up the blinds, she had not seen the lake yet. They had a beautiful waterfront room, and all it was a gasp. Do I have that correct, George?
You do. Yes. It was
You
fabulous.
froze
And then,
a
of course,
little.
Rainbow Lake. Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah,
it was
so
amazing.
But you know, ways to make sure that you stay within your budget. You can take what they call run of house room. If you take a run of house room at Lake Louise, you'll save a couple of $100 per person per night. You just may not be having a view of the lake. I've woken up, looked at a pine tree. I've woken up looking at the lake. Clearly the morning I woke up looking at beautiful Lake Louise was a slightly better one. Now they just continue on. The landscape continues. This coloration that you see in the lakes, you'll continue to see it in the rivers as well. The glacial silt never quite settles, and it formed that beautiful blue color. So Banff would be the last of the icons on the Icefield Parkway. And when we are going north to south on the Icefields Parkway, you are not on the train. You are on a motor coach or doing this as a self-drive or with a private car with a driver. You do have now hotels included. What's not included in this situation would be meals. You only have your meals and alcohol included while you're on the train. So when you're off of the train, you have towns like Banff that has more than 60 restaurants. You know, Eddie's Burger Bar was definitely one of George's favorite. And it wasn't even that it was his favorite. He was asking a couple of locals, where should I go? And each local said the same place. When all the locals are telling you to go to a place, you go there. So, you know, enjoying Eddie's Burger Bar, doing walks just throughout the town itself. This is a beautiful pedestrian bridge over the Bow River. You do have some hotels that are outside of the downtown area. The Fairmont Banff Springs is an iconic, beautiful mountain hotel. You also have the Rimrock Hotel, and that's the image shown here. So if you are a five-star style traveler, you may want to look into the Rimrock or the Fairmont Banff Springs. I love five-star traveling, don't get me wrong, but I also love waking up in the heart of Banff. So if I was to change one thing about my style of travel, it may be, you know, hey, how about you give it a chance, stay at a four-star hotel and wake up in the heart of Banff. Now, we do have some spectacular typical inclusions, and going up the Banff gondola to the top of Sulphur Mountain, that's the image that should be on your screen now, the visitor center at the top. You're at 7,500 feet. There's lots of little paths to go around, but there are also Adirondack chairs. And just to take in the view when you're at 7,500 feet, looking over the Bow Valley and all Banff has to offer is truly spectacular. But another inclusion that we would have that day would be going down from Banff to Kananaskis and taking a helicopter ride. So lots of different ways to, again, personalize your trip. If you are not a fan of heights, you probably don't want a helicopter ride. You also may not want to be in a gondola. So make sure you understand you have options and chances to, you know, explore different sightseeing as you travel with us. So typically people are either flying into Vancouver or Calgary. You can travel east to west, west to east when working with us. Calgary is definitely a foodie's city. If you love your food, great restaurants. Calgary has quite a bit to offer. You also have the Calgary Tower right there. If you go all the way to the top, you have a great view of the Canadian Rockies. So folks, I'm just going to give you a few examples and then we'll open it up to questions. But again, we take our 2- and 3-day train routes. We use those as the base experience to build a more robust itinerary. So in a situation like this is called First Passage to the West at Leisure. We're using the 2-day train route that connects the Lake Louise Banff region to Vancouver. So you have 2 days included on the train. You would have 7 nights included at a hotel. This one does include the Columbia Icefield. It does include the gondola ride, the helicopter ride. And a trip like this, depending on service level, may range between $3,000 and $4,000 per person. And then we have one that people would have an opportunity to do a round trip. We call it a circle journey. In this situation, you have 13 nights included at a hotel. You would have 5 days on the train, and the rest would be exploring via motor coach and having some great sightseeing and other inclusions. So here's that blown up a little bit more. So each of the numbers represent the amount of nights that you have in a hotel. And again, this is a 2-day consecutive rail trip paired up with a 3-day consecutive rail trip. So one of our offers for 2021 is an opportunity to get 4 free perks. We would offer you 2 additional hotel nights, 1 transfer from the airport, and a dinner included at your hotel. And at this time, our deposit is only $25 Canadian per person. So if you do want to reserve your seat for next year with us, you can go ahead and do that and receive all of these perks. One better is that since Blue Skies Travel is a virtuoso agency, you'll also get an exclusive amenity, and that is a private car transfer from the airport. So since we're already including that in our promo, you would actually get a round trip private car transfer from the airport to your hotel when booking through Blue Skies Travel. So that is all I have to offer tonight. George, thank you so much for allowing me to share Rocky Mountaineer with some of your valued guests. And thank you, folks.
Thank you, Tim, for your presentation. I hope you as the viewer have been inspired and understand why Rocky Mountaineer is such a valued partner. If you are interested in learning more about Rocky Mountaineer, or if you are ready to plan your trip, call your Blue Skies Travel advisor. And for more travel inspiration and upcoming events, check out our Facebook page.